Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. And some say it's not over yet. Some say it is over yet as far as the president's, race. But part of it's not over yet. And that may end up being, honestly, the most important part of it. We have two races in Georgia that we need to talk about. Joining me to talk about that is my good friend, shooting partner, and just good buddy. He's the president of the Louisiana Shooting Association, as well as a real serious competitive shooter. Dan Zelenka joins us right now. Hey, Dan, you been out at the range?
I have been out at the range.
What'd you shoot?
Had a good day. Zeroed in some hunting pistols. Of course, because I'm so smart, I managed to leave ammunition at home for one of them. But
well, that's what happens when you take a bunch of different guns to the range sometimes.
I did. I ended up working with some revolvers and out at 100 yards, so
what
things
caliber?
are okay. 454 Casull and a 44 Magnum.
What you gonna hunt?
Might be them four-legged deer things.
Okay, good man. Okay, that'll work. And I've seen you shoot. I think you could probably hit something at 100 yards with one of those.
Hey, man, when there's lead in the air, it's dangerous.
That's right. There's hope, at least. All right, so you called me this morning, and you were fired up because you really wanted to talk about these Senate races in Georgia. I mean, it's weird. I don't know if it's unique, if it's ever happened before. We have both Senate races in one state that are going to a runoff, and you might just kind of set it up of what this means and where we are with the balance in the Senate.
Well, literally, it is for all the marbles. And the reason I say that is if the Republicans take those two Senate seats, nothing will happen bad in the next 2 years, at least in my estimation. The main thing is the filibuster will remain intact. As long as the filibuster remains intact, it requires 60 votes to get something through the Senate. The Democrats cannot put together 60 votes for anything that's important to us as gun owners.
Right.
There's no way they're going to put together 60 votes to get rid of or to create an assault weapon ban. And more importantly, there's no way they'll put together those votes to get rid of the Protection and Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. Okay? And that's why I say more importantly, if an assault weapon ban passes, there's more than a reasonable chance that it would be declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, I don't think you've got the same constitutional safeguard there.
I think you're right. And for those who are wondering what we're talking about, this is the law that was passed a number of years ago because the gun ban lobby got together and said, hey, we can sue gun makers out of existence if we can try to find them liable for the misuse of perfectly safe, non-malfunctioning guns. You know, basically, the criminal misuse of guns, we'll say the gun makers are responsible for that. They had 30 lawsuits going at one time, and all they need, I mean, at least according to the gun makers, all they need is one of those to hit, and the insurance companies won't insure gun companies anymore.
They don't even need one to hit. All they need is enough of them out there that insurance companies are paying lawyers to defend them. And, of course, it's going to be very fact-specific. There's going to be a lot of discovery. There's going to be a lot of costs. And when insurance companies pay enough, they're going to do one of two things. They're either not going to write the coverage or they're going to raise the rates to a point where, maybe Colt and Ruger can afford it. Probably not Colt, but maybe Ruger can afford it.
Right.
Smith & Wesson, I mean, they're publicly traded, but the smaller makers, the Sons of Liberty of the world, will have just a terrible time trying to get insurance. And without insurance, you cannot be in business.
No. So basically, the gun makers, a lot of gun makers, if not all gun makers, go away if you lose this law, because the Protection and Lawful Commerce in Arms Act says You cannot hold a gun maker responsible for the misuse of a product. Now, if it's a defective product, you can hold them responsible. If the gun maker or the store breaks the law, knowingly breaks the law, yes, you could hold them responsible. But if they're obeying the law and they're making a safe product, you can't blame them because some doofus goes out and blows his foot off or robs a bank.
Correct.
Okay, so but what you're saying is, if the Democrats get control of Congress, I mean, and just to put a fine point on it so people understand, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have already said they want to do away with this Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act. They've already said they want to institute a ban on semi-automatic rifles. They have already said they would like to put a $200 tax on every standard capacity magazine out there. And that's the kind of things that could slide right through the Senate.
Well, you got to remember, Joe Biden was the head of the Judiciary Committee and one of the authors of the 1994 assault weapon ban. It's not like it's an idle threat. He has done it before.
He's already done it. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to what he says. Watch what he has done.
Yeah.
And so I think that gun control will be a major theme for them. And, you know, if we hold the Senate, it's going nowhere. If we don't hold the Senate, the first thing I could foresee Schumer doing is to get rid of the filibuster rule. Mm-hmm. If he only needs a simple majority, we've got problems. And it doesn't stop there, okay? Because we're sitting with a nice majority on the Supreme Court. If he gets rid of the filibuster rule, he can change the number of justices on the Supreme Court. I mean, the dominoes that could fall by giving the Democrats a majority of the Senate are beyond belief.
Because then they would have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. Basically, they could do whatever they want to do at that point.
Yes. And it's somewhat like the first 2 years of Obama's first
his term. Mm-hmm.
When he was first term, thank you. They had 60 votes, so they didn't need, I mean, the filibuster was ineffective against them, so They could do whatever they wanted. And fortunately, they didn't press any of the gun issues, which is kind of surprising. Mm-hmm. They burned up their political capital on Obamacare. But at that point in time, the Republicans basically had no say in anything that went on. Now, you know,
if we can hold. Fast forward us to this. We have 2 runoff elections. What if you don't live in? Obviously, if you live in Georgia, you need to vote. If you live in Georgia, you got to make sure you're registered to vote, and you still can register. They now have time to do that again. But if you don't live in Georgia and you can't vote there, what do?
You can always send money, because you can believe that this is going to be the most expensive senatorial election in history. I mean, Michael Bloomberg spent $100 million just in Florida. You know,
I'm going to make a prediction. I think that between those 2 runoff races, it's not inconceivable we could see $1 billion spent.
It's not inconceivable, because it is so important. And you know, I talked a little bit about Obama's first term. When he was elected, there was a blue tidal wave that came in. Mm-hmm. I mean, 60 Democratic senators, just a pile of House members, and they were predicting it. The news media were predicting that occurring this go-round. Actually, if you don't count the presidential election, the Republicans did pretty well. Mm-hmm. You know, in the down ballot stuff, if we win these 2 seats in Georgia, we will be down 1 net Senate seat. Not too shabby when they were predicting we would be down 10.
And we went up 5 in the House.
At least 5. That's 5 confirmed. We may be up as many as 10 before it's all over with.
Oh.
Now, that being said, that's 5 taken away from the Democrats, but there were 5 open seats. Okay, so I don't know how the exact numbers end up, but we could end up as much as 10 ahead of where we started. And then extremely important, because this is a redistricting year, the state houses. And the Democrats took a hard run at the state houses, especially in Texas,
right?
Because they wanted to control those houses for the redistricting
sure.
of the House, of the federal House districts. And the Democrats walked away with a net -2 state houses. So other than the president, okay, we didn't do too badly. And it's really funny because I sat down at my desk right before your assistant called me, and I looked, and it says, Romney says election and endorsement of conservative views. And I almost hate to quote Senator Romney, but Senator Mitt Romney said Republican gains in many down-ballot races in last week's election were an endorsement of conservative principles, while losing the White House was a referendum on a person. He may very well be correct.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and if we can hold Georgia, then I think he is correct. If we lose Georgia,
Yeah, we're going to return to this a good bit. Dan, I'm going to get you back on here probably next week, because we're also working on a really important lawsuit and a concept here in Louisiana. And for those who don't know already, Dan is not only the president of the Louisiana Shooting Association, but he's a practicing attorney as well as a machine gun dealer and just kind of an all-around gun nut like me. So, true?
Yeah, I resemble that remark.
Yes, you do. Exactly right. All right. Look, I got to go. I appreciate your time, sir. I appreciate the call this morning, and we're going to work on this because these two races in Georgia, as you say, really are for all the marbles. Oh, yeah, Louisiana Shooting Association. If you're not a member, I'm just going to say, people, get involved. You got to do that. Whatever your state group is, you got to get involved. Hey, Dan, thank you so much. We'll get you on here again next week, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Take care. Bye.